Thanks for staying with us. Now, more and more professional Black African women are embracing their authentic self and reshaping organisational cultures. And they're doing this by embracing the values of Ubuntu and the more modern #BlackGirlMagic. University of Stellenbosch Business School lecturer Dr Phumzile Mmope talks to us now about the article she penned on how these two concepts can be the secret recipe for success in the workplace. And she joins us now live via Skype. Dr Mmope, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And now you wrote this article as part of the 2020 Women's Report in association with the South African Board for People's Practices. How did you come to decide to join these two practices, the one being much older than the other?
Good morning, Masal, and thank you so much for having me. Let me first start with the more modern concept or phenomenon that is Black Girl Magic. So essentially, Black Girl Magic, the original phase was coined by an American blogger and influencer, actually, as Black Girls Are Magic. And about 7 years ago, in 2013, it was then adapted into the hashtag Black Girl Magic. Since then, it has been used as a social and political phenomenon celebrating Black women's beauty, power, and resilience. Now, to come back to the Ubuntu philosophy, I have come to note that more recently there is a rise of Black women who are taking up space, who are making their presence felt in the workplace. And these women who continue then to embrace their authentic self and practice the Ubuntu style of leadership, when they go about it in a way that also helps them to overcome the challenges that they are confronted with, they are then celebrated and said to personify and possess Black Girl Magic.
Now, in your article entitled #BlackGirlMagic, does it have a place in the workplace? You point out that leadership training and development in South Africa has remained mainly Eurocentric. Why has it been so slow to change?
I think that historically, and it has to do also with the organizational cultures that are still very much influenced and shaped by patriarchy. And we also know that historically women have been marginalized in the workplace, and that is changing, and there is a shift. And I think it's also important to recognize that that change that is happening in the form of transformation is also bringing about cultural diversity. And that in itself points to a need for a more relevant kind of leadership style that will enable organizations to be able to really harness the power that lies in a culturally diverse workforce.
Now, the values that are the core focus of concepts like Ubuntu, of concepts like #BlackGirlMagic, are things like resilience, accomplishments, triumph over adversity, mentoring each other, helping another person take a step up the ladder, and the list goes on. And in as much as your report focuses on Black women being the ones that can take the lead in this in the workplace, the benefits would obviously be for the business as a whole.
Absolutely, absolutely. The qualities and the traits that can be linked back to Ubuntu, as you pointed out, in a leadership and management setting, they place an emphasis on relationships, collective well-being, inclusion, and that in itself, it creates spirited teams. And I believe that it is not only African Black women who can embrace and practice this leadership. I believe that all leaders, if they start to appreciate these Ubuntu values and practice them in their own respective leadership roles, that they can create humane workplaces where essentially, you know, people are seen as human beings and not human doings.
Now, is this something that can be incorporated, do you feel, in the more traditional structures of training that we find in businesses and in corporate spaces?
Yes, it is, but I must concede that there is some work that still needs to be done in that regard to bring about the very relevant insights and to create the tailored programs that would then start to begin to sensitize the leaders to begin to understand better this Ubuntu-infused leadership style.
Now, and finally, we're wrapping up. You're with the Stellenbosch University Business School. You're a lecturer there. Some would say that the academic spaces, especially business schools, have also not transformed fast enough. Did you find that when you came with this concept and you wrote this paper about incorporating something like #BlackGirlMagic and Ubuntu into traditional business spaces, that you got a few raised eyebrows from your more traditional colleagues?
I would actually say that it was very much shaped by my own lived experience in the higher education space, having been a senior and executive leader for 15 years in higher education at 3 different universities that had to go through their own transformation journey. And based on my experience, I really believe that universities they have a very strong will to transform. What I find that universities, the higher education space, and I would actually go on to say that organizations that are embracing their transformation journey, what they often struggle with is the practical and effective ways to go about it. And hence, in my role now as a lecturer at the business school, I'm starting to focus more on placing attention on these management and leadership philosophies that can not only create that shared understanding of what is needed, but more importantly, be translated into the practical practices that can start to bring about tangible change.
Thank you so much for giving us some insight into your work. That is Dr Phumzile Mmope. She's a lecturer at the University of Stellenbosch's Business School. Thank you for your time this morning.